Three, two, one. I believe we're live.
Hello, Big C.
Hello, Lunchtime. I don't know why I say we're live. These are clearly pre-recorded, but what can you do? Welcome back. Hunchtime, as we said, we're going to go weekly from now on. This is our second of the weekly ones. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tip on a lot of the GAA from last weekend mostly. So if you're not a GAA fan, this is probably not the pod for you. Mr. Lunchtime, how was your weekend?
Very enjoyable. Great to see all the GAA back on TV. There was nearly too much on, to be honest.
The best was not go as planned, I think, this weekend, but you had a bit of a disclaimer on site that it was betting on the first round of the league is not ideal.
No. Case in point was proved by Antrim winning against Clare, the usual first round shock. We had, was it 2 years ago, Galway drew with Carlow and awfully hammered Dublin out the gate. Ended up playing Division 3 hurling in the championship the following year. So it's
we hope to God that they won't happen to Antrim, because watching the game, their coolness and stuff, even going 9-3 down in the first half, was class. They knew the pitch, they knew that wind was there, and I thought they won the midfield battle big time. But seriously impressive first outing. You just hope to God it's not one of those Carlos drawing with Galway that they can back it up next week.
Yeah, they're a proud traditional county though, so like they have good belief in themselves. They have a good man in charge, the tip man there, Darren Gleeson. He seems to have them absolutely flying. Now they have to go down to Nolan Park to face Kilkenny on Saturday afternoon, which is kind of scary, but you never know. They could put up a good showing again. Hopefully they do.
What's your prognosis for that? Have you it written up on site?
No, we've no bet. The handicap is 12, I think. Antrim are getting 12-point head start, but it's hard to know. Like they could cover that. It's quite a lot, but I feel in Kilkenny will be quite wary of them after what happened last week, which could be dangerous. Kilkenny were impressive themselves last weekend against Dublin. Like they kept Dublin out. There was no real goal chance. They took their goal chance well. They weren't as reliant on TJ Reid as usual. You had Mossy Keown there. I think he scored 1-4 off the top of my head. He was quite good, and they had a few defenders tipping in with a few points too, which is not usually what Kilkenny will do. But yeah, they were impressive. Now I know it's the first day out. I was kind of disappointed in Dublin, but you're kind of used to that with Dublin at this stage. Similar to Clare.
I just thought Parnell Park, they're usually very, very
unbeatable.
Like that's a fortress. So I expected a little bit better showing, but like this Kilkenny team has a bit about it this year and a hell of a lot to prove. So you never know. It's that reliance on TJ over the last few years. Like there's definitely no better man in hurling at the moment to be relying on if you have to rely on somebody. But it's like it makes them very, very one-dimensional.
That's for sure, yeah. And then we have Clare, then the opposite side of that, coming down from that Antrim game, getting Davy in at home in Cusack Park in Ennis on Sunday afternoon. No love lost between the two managers, former teammates who don't even speak to each other. But
that's going to be so.
And then, of course, you had the controversy last year when Clare put them out of the championship of the man sitting up in the stand, the man that Davy was referring to, who just roared abuse at him for 70 minutes.
A regular Clare supporter, I think. That was probably, I don't know if that was staged at all.
So that could be a nasty enough affair now on a tight ground, bad weather on, I think it's on Sunday.
Yeah.
It could be one of them games that I noticed that the odds compilers still have no total points up in that match. I'd be very keen if it was around the 50 to go under. I think it'll be a low scoring, tight game. I wasn't impressed with Wexford against Laois on Sunday either. They pulled away late on, but like Laois, I don't know, had they 15 or 16 wides by 60 minutes. They were only 6 points down, and like Wexford just couldn't seem to put them away. I was impressed with them. I know they're missing a few players, but they just weren't impressive.
That was a beautiful day for hurling as well. Like it probably be that, like I'm sure the ground will still be good, but like it's promised rotten. So that under would definitely be worth looking at if it's 51 sort of thing.
100%, yeah, 100%. And then we have the big two games. Impressive Cork coming up against Tip, and Galway hosting Limerick on Sunday. So they're the two big games really in Division 1.
How impressed were you by Cork and their new lads coming in? That the young Blackrock forward looks like he's been an eye for goal.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
He does. And the lad he replaced, actually, Barrett, I was very impressed with him. His work rate was very, very good. And like, Horgan only scored 1 point from play, which if that had happened in the last 10 years, Cork would not win a match if Horgan only chips in with 1 from play. Seem to be working really, really hard. Be interesting to see if they can back it up against Tip. They have this habit, Cork, of the last few years of putting back a bad performance after a good. I think they're different. But very impressed with the goalkeeper. He provided himself as a spare man throughout the 70 minutes, and the backs were not afraid to use him. And his use of the ball was outstanding, finding a man. I know Nash has been good over the last few years for Cork, but like his pinpoint balls and all that, but whenever ball was played back to him, he'd panic and lash it, whereas this guy seems to be composed and able to find a man. So I was very impressed with him. Their full back line was not tested. Waterford played with a one-man full forward line.
That's it. Waterford can't manufacture goals, and like it's just so hard to beat teams if you're scoring. Like, because Limerick are the high water mark now, and if you're going to beat Limerick, it's not going to be scoring 119, or 20 or something. Like you'll have to do more because they score so freely, especially their half forward line might get 10 points in a game.
Yeah.
And they're going to be putting up 30 points odd, so you have to be able to breach that. And Waterford never look like they're going to open a team up like Cork did the movement of their forwards. But what was I going to say? It was it's just something I thought of in the last second. The evolution of keepers in hurling, like in football too, but especially in hurling, your keeper is now your quarterback.
Yeah,
that was never the case before. He was an unbelievable shot stopper who poked the leather off the ball, trying to drop it down in the half forward line or in the full forward line with wind, and that was it. That was his job, taking puck outs and driving them. And now it's completely different. And if you see the movement of the backs and the midfield when puck outs are being taken, and the keeper's ability to absolutely laser one into them, it's class. It's brilliant. It's totally new division.
You see, the big thing now, Biggie, is that most teams are playing with 4 forwards max. So you have 2 spare defenders. So why not use them? Why hit the ball down to where they have 2 extra defenders, where they have the 6-on-4? Why don't you use your 6-on-4 and play short to the man and work the ball up the pitch? Like, Schlitters are so light now, anybody can score from 70, 80 yards. So if you can work it to that mark, you don't need forwards. Like, just go short and keep popping points all day.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about Cork that will worry them is Waterford scored 119 in the second half, which if that happens against better forwards, they will not be going anywhere far on Cork for the year anyways. They just can't be conceding scores like that in a half for hurling. Like, that's 22 points.
I know, I know Donald O'Grady's back and stuff, but like the same, I hate to give Cork the same criticism, like the stereotypical light. What else do people say about Cork? Soft, average at the back. But they kind of look like that again. Like, just physically, they don't look like a Galway or a Limerick.
No.
And like you play hurling for September, that's when it really matters, when the fucking ground is rotten and like it could be you're going to have to win on wet days, and I'd hate to see that Cork team coming up against Limerick or Galway on a wet day. Like, I could be totally wrong, and maybe Donald O'Grady, this is the start of the evolution, and that game plan will work anywhere, but it just seemed like they were a seriously lightweight team.
Yeah, they're definitely one to watch, and it will be interesting to see how they go throughout the league. Like, they have such explosive forwards that anybody will be wary of them. I won't say afraid, they'll be wary. This early in the year, they'll be wary. Maybe if they start putting up the scores like they did last week throughout the league, then teams will be getting a bit afraid of them. Because they have, like, the forwards they have there in Kingston and the Hog. Alan Cadigan came off the bench the last day. Alan Flynn, wing forward. Seamus Harmony, who didn't play well the last day. Like, they have any amount of scoring forwards. They have as good as anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where Cork are. I'm 100% certain that this weekend's game with Tip is just going to be a usual Cork Tip. you score, we score, you score, we score, you score, we score situation. It's just going to be, it'll be a completely different game from what Tip played against Limerick.
That's what I was saying, because fuck me, the Tip struggle against Limerick. Did they score 7 from play?
Yeah, they didn't score from play after 25 minutes, which is mad. And like, Limerick were missing, you could say, the backbone of their team. Declan Hannon at 6, Hegarty, Keane Lynch, Aaron Gillan.
Yeah.
I know they brought on Lynch and Gillan for the last, or not Gillan, Lynch and Hegarty for the last 15 minutes when they were 5 down, and they managed to pull it back to a draw with just the two of them. Peter Casey actually came on as well.
If Tip had lost that game, that would have been really, really serious. Because like more than back to the drawing board.
Yeah, you could see it by Sheedy's reaction when he clenched his fists at the end of the game, celebrating the draw in the first round of the league. You'd never see that from Tip before. It just tells you where they're at.
They won a line ball and Sheedy almost fucking jumped out of his pants. It was mad. Like, they were so up for that game, you know. Compared to Limerick, who seemed to be kind of coasting it, we didn't see anything from Limerick whatsoever. But Tip really, really needed that and wanted that.
No, John Kiley got his sly dig in the interview after when he said that, Tip have a lot more work done than us recently and all that. Yeah. Hinting that maybe some teams have been training when they shouldn't have been training.
Yeah, I know that was a very unsly dig.
Yeah. But anyways, we'll move on. We've Galway then and Limerick on Sunday in Pearse Stadium, and I am really looking forward to this. It should be a cracker. Another team Limerick have a bit of a stranglehold on, but they're maybe the one team that have given Limerick games over the last few years. Proper, physical, can match up to them perfectly. They were very unlucky against them in last year's All-Ireland semi-final. We just be interesting to see how it goes on Sunday. I reckon Galway are have a little bit more work done ball-wise than Limerick, just from looking at them with the weekend. I know they're only playing Westmeath, and like this is like chalk and cheese to it, like, but it'd be just interesting to see how Galway go against them, and will they bring back, like, they had all their all-stars standing on the sideline pretty much the last day. Obviously, when you're playing Westmeath, you don't need them. But will they bring back Daithí Burke, maybe to have a battle with the big man, Seamus Flanagan, the Limerick full forward, who must be the biggest beast to ever play the game of hurling.
Fuck me, his movement was absolutely unbelievable. The first 15 minutes of that game, Limerick just had one thing in mind, that every ball was once it was like you hand pass it out to the halfbacks carry, and then, or if they don't carry, it's just direct ball diagonal into the corner. And the movement of the full forward line, especially Flanagan, his man was nowhere near him. The guy, he was making his debut, Noel McGrath, and Noel McGrath's brother, Brian, I think his name is. Yeah. He was nowhere near it. He came into the game later. But
he did.
I don't know if it was more him coming into the game, but like, he actually played well, in fairness to him. It looked in the first 10 minutes when Flanagan got 2 or 3 really soft balls off him when he was 5 yards off, that it was going to be a long day. But Brian McGrath seemed to grow into the game a little bit, and maybe it was just teething pains. Or maybe you just can't handle that movement, especially, you know.
But like the size of him, like he's like a rugby centre playing at full forward. Like if he gets the ball to hand, there's only one way you can stop him, that's pull him to the ground. Like there's no other way you can stop him if he gets a run on you.
He seems to lack consistency though. I don't know, is it a fitness thing or something, but just he drifts in and out of games hugely. Like it looks like he's going to take over a game, and then you don't see sight nor sound of him for the rest of it, you know. You think he's taking off, and then he gets a ball in the 60-something minute, you know.
Yeah, and then so it'll be interesting to see how that game goes on Sunday now. And then, of course, the Football League is starting this week as well. We're going to review a few of the games on the www.hunchtime.com if anybody wants to have a read. We're going to review Tyrone against Donegal with the new management team in Tyrone. It's very interesting to see how that'll go. And then Kerry against Galway. Galway with a completely new look team again for the 5th year in a row. Kerry, where are Kerry at? I have a feeling they're going to have a big year, and they must be ready to go after what happened to them last year against Cork. So they're also
this Saturday.
Go on.
Down in Killarney this Saturday. Who do you fancy? What's the spread?
You'd have to fancy Kerry, wouldn't you? It's in Killarney. We don't know what Galway have, who they have. They've a lot of the under-20 team brought in, but like the big difference now between under-20 and under 21, what it would normally be is a lad isn't as physically developed that he's 20 years of age coming in now instead of 21, 22, coming off an under 21 team. And like, it's a big step up to go playing the likes of David Moore and David Clifford, Sean O'Shea, all these lads that Kerry have. Like, I just can't see Galway getting anything down there. Now, they might surprise me, and as a Galway man, I hope they do. But I think this is going to be a project for PJ and Galway. Maybe in 3 years' time, I'd say they could have a team because the talent they have is second to none coming through.
Yeah.
But I think Kerry have big ambitions for this year after what happened last year. They've been sitting away there since when was it? Cork beat them last October.
Yeah.
Ready to go. You wouldn't the fact that Kerry have Dublin next week and then they have to travel up to Roscommon in the last game. They're going to be keen to get the 2 points. They don't want to be involved in relegation battles.
No, they're going to be keen to knock this on the head, and I think if it's -2 or less, I think Kerry are going in your Cume or whatever you like for the week.
They have to, yeah. They have to. It is, the handicap's -2, yeah, the even money -2. It's as good as what you'll find out there this weekend, I think.
I think so too. Now that
even though as we both know, it's very hard to back against your own team. It can be a horrible experience. So if you're from Galway, I wouldn't advise you to back it. If you're from the rest of the country, that's probably the bet.
Yeah. Which one did you have earlier this year? Was it when we tipped Leeds on side? Which we were?
Oh, the day Leeds against Leicester, yeah. And we had Leicester to win and both teams to score. And as a Leeds fan, when Leicester scored early, that was grand. You're a bit of mixed emotions. Then Leeds score again. Then you, as a Leeds fan, even though you've backed Leicester, you don't want Leeds. You don't want Leicester to score, and it's a horrible experience. Leeds held on anyway, so it was all good.
Yeah, you make it like you're so conflicted because I had the same when you tipped up. My favourite tip of yours this year, which was Liverpool United under 2.5. Everybody and their mother backing over 2.5 because they know they're watching that game. It's a big game. The over 2.5 is going to be a Cume, or they're betting one side or the other, and 0-0 surprisingly. But I was watching the whole game and I was just, I'd go out to the bathroom, I'd come back, did anything happen? No, good, that's perfect. Yeah. You're torn between hunchtime.com and I'll never do it again. It's not even worth putting on site. Unless there's a bet as good as that out there again that we absolutely love, then we might have to go against our club allegiance.
Go against your gut.
Yeah. Let's delve a little bit deeper into the games this weekend, or would you like to shift on to the Football League in general?
I'm very interested to see Tyrone with the new manager. He's had most of them at underage level. I have a feeling it's going to go very well. I heard it described on the radio during the week as the chains being taken off their necks with Mickey Hart gone. I thought it was a very, very good way of putting it because they have some of the best forwards in the country that could open up any team. I think it was a former Dublin player that just retired that actually said it. And he said, he was explaining that over the last few years, they have not feared Tyrone one bit. Even he said there was an All-Ireland final, was it 3 years ago? And he was explaining that Tyrone went ahead and they were 3 or 4 points up. He said, we were not worried one bit because you just know what you're going to get with them. They're not going to score enough. Yeah. Whereas he said, he was explaining, and I'm of the similar opinion that this team is going to be different. They played great football with this manager, Fergal Logan, when he was the under-21 manager a couple of years ago. Positive football, using the forwards, and they have some class forwards: McKenna, Canavan, Matty Donnelly, McShane. They're as good as anyone. Mark Bradley. So they will, if they start off well, teams will start taking notice of them very quickly. I think they could be a dark horse for the league. They're around 15-2 to win the league. I know they're in a little mini Ulster Championship in their group with Armagh, Monaghan and Donegal, who they play Sunday. But I have a feeling they could be a dark horse for the league. They're priced they're 15-2. It's a big price, but they could be worth a fiver. It could all go pear-shaped on Sunday. Donegal could come out and hammer them, but I think at this stage they're worth taking the chance on. I think they're going to go well.
Are Monaghan favourites in that side of the league, the northern side?
No, Monaghan are third favourites. Donegal are second favourites. Monaghan third and Armagh fourth. I actually think Monaghan are going to get relegated. They're 13-8 to go down. I think they're going to go down. I think they're really, really struggling. Banty's back in charge there the last 2 years. They were very poor against Cavan in the championship last year. They just about survived in the league last year as well. I think they're going to struggle. think Armagh could be surprising enough. They play a nice style of football, attacking. Now it'd be very hard to come out of that group. It's only 2 coming out, and 2 going to the relegation battle, where, let's be honest, they'll probably face off against Roscommon and Galway. And that'll be that. But I like Monaghan to be relegated. I think it's 15-8. I think they're going to struggle. So they, that's the way I'd be looking at that division. And that's kind of the way for Division 1 anyways. Be interested to see. Obviously, the first week is a watching brief, but it's a bit more intense. There's be a lot more intensity than the football or than the hurling last week, because relegation is on the line.
That's it.
And there is a league final, whereas in the hurling, it's you play your group and there's nothing. At the end of it, you're literally preparing for challenge. It's like challenge games for a championship.
Yeah, the threat of relegation, especially at the start, you want to get a win in the first game, and then just then you can blood players, you can mess around with your tactics or whatever. But you do not want to lose your first game, especially for example, if Galway lose their first game down in Killarney, which they probably will. It makes it sticky then for the rest of it to try to not be in that bottom 2. Yeah,
like when you're 2 out of 4 teams going into the bottom 2, you kind of need a win and a draw to avoid that.
Yeah,
you're not going to avoid it with just 1 win. So, teams will be very keen to start off well. That's what I'd be thinking, anyways. And then we're going to put all these bets up on site, anyways. We have a few sneaky ones that for the different divisions. We'll have them up on site on Friday evening. Like in Division 2, Mayo will obviously be promoted, but Meath to go up with them at 7-4 could be a good bet. And I think the best bet we found is Sligo to win Division 4. They're after putting famous Cross McGlen player Tony McAtee. There's twin brothers there, Tony and John, I think. But Tony was the right-hand man to Stephen Rochford when Rochford was in charge of Mayo, and he also led Cross McGlen to an All-Ireland club title as manager of them. So he's a very shrewd appointment. All the money seems to be for Louth with Mickey Hart in charge. But I have a feeling Sligo, they weren't that far off last year. They lost 3 games by 2 points and won 3 games. I have a feeling that he could get them going. It's a weak division this year. You have Leitrim, Sligo, Wexford, Waterford, I can't even remember, Antrim and Louth. They're the 6 teams in the division. I think at 13-2, they could win that division. They're 5-2 to be promoted, to be in the first 2, which is also a good bet. But I think that's as good as what's out there for the league. I know people don't like Division 4, but you're not going to watch it. But you can always put it on and keep a close eye on it.
I know that might be my favourite of all of them, that 13-2 on Sligo. It depends what sort of turnaround Mickey Hart is going to get from Louth, but just because of the fact that they haven't been able to do much training and stuff, is it going to be this instant? Probably not, unless it's just a mindset thing and the footballers were allowed all along. But we will see.
Well, Louth tried this a few years ago with the famous, what's his name? Pete McGrath, he was the Down manager. Yeah. And he'd actually proven himself outside Down because he'd taken Fermanagh to Croke Park just 2 years previous. That's about 4 years ago now. And he went into Louth and he got nothing out of them. So, and he'd be, the fact that he was able to get it out of Fermanagh, who'd be right there a little bit better, but they'd have a similar talent pool.
Yeah. And
we couldn't get anything out of Louth would make you worry as to what Mickey Hart can actually get out of them.
Yeah, and the market is definitely betting on Mickey Hart rather than betting on the talent that has come through in Louth. But
and you're working on something yourself for us, Biggie, for the summer.
2 major things on site now. We have the Heineken Cup preview, which we have up on site. Basically, just that all the Irish rugby analysts have been talking up O'Gara's praises on how he changed La Rochelle so much since he came in. Himself and John O'Gibbs, former Leinster coach. But in reality, La Rochelle have been, since I started watching them, they got promoted in 2014.
Yeah.
And they had a dual coaching head that I can't remember the name of. One guy is East European, probably Georgian, if he's a rugby.
Most likely.
Anyway, they what La Rochelle did is they they couldn't afford to like battle it out with Toulouse and Stade Francais in terms of wages in the market. So what they did is they just said, give us your academy players. And they did what Connacht did under Pat Lam. And they said, we'll take any academy players that just slip through the cracks and we'll give a load of them a go. They put together an academy team, which included like Gregory Aldreet. They signed Victor, which was an unbelievable signing. But basically the core of this team was there. And then in 2016, 2017, they won they topped the top 14, playing the most expansive rugby in the competition. So it was absolutely class. And they've been playing rugby like that ever since. This KBA, just because we're like Ronan O'Gara said KBA on British television, and everybody creamed their pants at his honesty, that like he didn't introduce that. But taking nothing away, O'Gara's doing a really good job there. And I'm definitely La Rochelle fan. I have an article on site that basically says that the best bet is to lose between 1 and 10 points, 7-2. But I'm not doing that. I tipped La Rochelle because La Rochelle plus 4 points. I don't know, keep the dream alive. I just think it's such a brilliant story that O'Gara is gonna, I think everybody's watching his evolution, especially people who listen to Off the Ball, where he has a segment. He's so honest about how he goes about coaching and stuff, and he's clearly an intellectual. He puts unbelievable thought into everything he does with the players, and then he's completely open about it. And you don't see coaches in modern sport doing that.
He was also very brave in what he did in that he went to France to go coaching. Like, it would have been very easy for him to just slot in, get a job at Munster, and not challenge himself. The fact he went to France and then went to New Zealand and back to France again, it's a good sign in him, like, that he's not afraid of a challenge. And like, he'll be better for it when he eventually does get the Munster job. Like, he will get the Munster job eventually.
I think he did that intentionally, because can you imagine being like Munster's arguably greatest ever player, and then like you get thrown into the Munster job, and suddenly like the thing you loved the most is you're getting questioned about why are you doing this every single week? How do you improve? You need to get more players in. Why aren't you bringing through Irish players? And like, I don't know, I just have a feeling in my mind that O'Gara wants to avoid that, because like there's huge pressure coaching internationally as well, I'm sure, but just like he can still love Munster, but from a distance now, where he doesn't have to.
That's very interesting that you said that, actually, because it just came to me there that that is exactly what happened to the late great Anthony Foley, and the pressure he was under when he was in charge of Munster was immense. It was outrageous, the pressure from the fans, and it can be quickly forgotten how good of a player you were if you don't do it as a manager straight away when you take the job. It'll be different for O'Gara. He'll always be remembered. He's long enough gone now that when he does come back, I think they'll still remember him fondly, even if it doesn't go well as a coach. But if he'd gone straight into the job like the late Anthony Foley did, it might be a different story.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, because like it's your home then as well, you really have nowhere to hide. Like, you're not going down to the pub to have a couple of pints or something and relax, because there's going to be people hassling you, and you're going to be getting sideways looks if you're fucking knocked out in the group stage of the Heineken Cup. Like, I just think it's a tactic by O'Gara, and I don't see him coming back anytime soon. I completely agree. It'll be a decade or never when he coaches Munster. I think never would be my guess.
I think he'll do it eventually, but sure, we'll argue about that again another time. And then you're working on the upcoming European Championships as well. A few articles for Hunchtime.
Yes, yeah. We won't get into this now because we're going to do an hour, 2 or 3 podcasts on this. We better get a few cans or something lunchtime, some Saturday.
Yes, definitely.
We'll do a proper podcast on it. But basically, what makes this Euros different is I had an article written out on Portugal, 14-1, the best bet for the Euros. Then they changed to 9-1. Had a look. So the reasoning was because the bookies thought that the whole thing would be played in England, so they changed Portugal to 9-1. Because now it's reverted back to the way it was, where Portugal have to play France, Hungary, and Germany. And they play Hungary and Germany away, and they play France in Hungary. So they basically have 2.5 away games in their group stage. And they've stayed at 9-1. So Portugal are no longer my tip, even though I still think they're the strongest team in the competition. That is a really, really nasty group. And And then the losers of that group, or the second place team in that group, plays England, who cruise their group. Actually, no, I said I wouldn't get into this. God damn it, Mr. Lunchtime team. Article on site, I'll have it done by the weekend or so. Before we wrap it up, there was a couple of questions that came in on Instagram. Let's zip through these. How do we make money? We don't basically make money at all. We don't have any sponsorship on site or anything. If somebody wants to sponsor us, then by all means make a request. But yeah, we just do this for fun. So no money. We also have t-shirts on site. If you want to buy our merchandise, tried and tested, it's really good. My girlfriend's a graphic designer and she's done all the designs for hunchtime.com. Have a look at the merchandise. If it's not good, return it within 14 days and get a full refund. There is absolutely no something or other. Bear with me, I'm trying to read notes here and speak at the same time. Any other questions? Why is Hunchtime 18 plus? Why is it 18 plus? Because Mr. Lunchtime, my partner here, is a member of the occult, and he sacrifices goats to Tiger Woods. He does every golfer. Why is it 18 plus? Because we give gambling tips, so it was safer to make it 18 plus, and then we can curse like sailors in the podcast if we want. Any other questions? No, that's it. 5,000th visitor to the site, 3.5 months. Congratulations to you. We haven't stolen your data, so we won't be sending you anything. But
yeah, I was wondering where that was going.
That was probably something we should have done, you know. But anyway.
And who are before we wrap up? Who are we dedicating this podcast
to? Dedicating this podcast to saying no to racism. Leitrim and the Migrant Rights Centre of Ireland, the MRCI, sponsored Leitrim's new jersey that says no to racism. It's a class jersey.
It is.
But just in general, like GAA is such an integral part of communities, and I know like it must be the same with yourself. Like I wouldn't have felt as much a part of my local community without GAA, if at all.
100%.
You know? And we just have to because Ireland is it's a much more multicultural place than it ever was in the history of GAA. We just have to be really cognizant of making it inclusive for everybody and giving everybody a go at representing their club or their county, getting involved in any way.
Yep.
Mr. Lunchtime, it has been a pleasure as always.
A pleasure as always, Biggie.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
My friend. Bye bye.